Hello everyone, this is Professor Patterns, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I've been using Cline recently for development of not just something very basic like a simple app or a simple website, but also giving it a much more of an advanced code base and seeing how well it actually performs. Now, there is some foreshadowing to how I actually use Cline, and I'm going to share it here. So as we can see here, I've actually got all of these agents working simultaneously. I did give it a really large code base. It's got a ton of different pages, a ton of different files. Like these are thousands and thousands of lines of code. Now, what it's building is this website right here. Now, obviously, at first glance, this might look like a simple job board. However, I did create a whole section on a career dashboard where I can just create a resume for myself, which could look just something like this, right? A very simple looking resume. All I would do is just put in my info and I can choose between a modern or a minimalistic resume. Sure, all of that looks fine. However, where the real magic comes in is for every single one of these jobs that I've posted here, I can simply click on a job and it will allow me to tailor my resume specifically to the job description. So what it's doing is that it's looking at the raw job description and it's looking at my resume. It's not trying to lie or anything. It's just trying to look at specific keywords and then add that to my resume and then just give me the tailored version of the resume. So this, you can see like what the differences are. And you can see that in terms of the content, all it's doing is that it's changing all of that minor specific information. I can also download a cover letter. And the main thing that I also wanted to do was directly apply to the company's site. So the apply now button will take me directly there to the company's website. So here I can just scroll down and then apply for this job specifically with the tailored resume as well as the tailored cover letter, which it just downloaded here. So that is the overall goal. And this is just one part of the process. I tried to do a bunch of different things like add in a whole resume review section and resume builder and expert interviews and so many different things. And as you can see, it's not just going to be a simple code base at this point. So how did I actually set all of this up? Well, first of all, let me show you my OpenRouter credits. Now, I've been using this for quite a while, and you can see that a lot of these costs incur quite a bit. If I click on maybe, I think credits, that makes sense. You can see here that I started off at $5. And then over time, like 10 days ago, I added 50. And then 9 days ago, I added $100. 4 days ago, I ran out. I had to add 50 more. And then again, a couple of hours ago, I had to add 100. And I'm already down to $81. So I've tried a bunch of different things, right? I've tried the Claude models. I've tried the local models. I've tried a bunch of different things. And my goal in this video is to show you what works and what's the most ideal way of doing things without actually incurring a huge amount of cost. Now, first, let me show you my entire usage. So imagine that I wanted to create something new, right? Some sort of a new interaction. So what I would do is create a new branch. So within GitHub, you can create a new branch. And the new branch that I call it, or I just created, is called Resume Improvements. Basically, what I want to do is this resume right here. And this is a bug that I had introduced. So for this resume right here, for the modern version, I don't really like what it looks like. So what I want to essentially do is copy this and then go back here to Cline. And then I can give it a prompt. So say something like this resume, and I need to give it the specific page, which is resume builder. And you'll see why I actually do this. Is not that great. Can you make the format for this resume better? The reason is because you're limited based on your context window. If you have a really complex task that you assign to it and you don't even tell it like where to look for or like what page to look for, it's going to have to start searching through all of the different files. So when you have a huge repository like this, you need to give it specifically like what folder or what file it needs to be looking at. If you can, I would actually give it the exact location of the file so it doesn't have to go through the process of looking for it as well. So here it's still kind of doing it, right? Its Cline is recursively viewing all of the files in the directory, and then it's trying to look at or read this file. So in the most ideal world, I would have just provided the exact location of this file. Now, what I would do here is that just kind of let it do its thing, and then I can come back to it once it's done. Now, already you can see that in terms of the API cost, it's already at 15 cents. And this is just a start. It hasn't even done any improvement yet. We can see the overall thinking process, right? So it says, oh, look, there's an Onyx template that it refers to. It says, now I have a basic understanding of what it needs. And now it's actually going in and making all of those updates. Now, that is where the cost can add up to be quite a bit really, really fast. And that's where I want you to be really careful. Now, if you go here on the OpenRouter API provider, now in the most ideal world, what you'd want to do is use something like Olama and then, or LM Studio or something, and then just run like a large language model locally on your computer, and then it'll be able to actually do all this coding for you completely for free. The only problem with something like this is the fact that it isn't actually that fast. It's quite slow, and the Anthropic Claude models work really, really well. The issue with Claude 3.5 Sonnet thinking is that, yeah, it's going to take in a huge amount of tokens. So you only want to be using this specific model when you have a really advanced or really complex task. Sometimes it does go into into a loop cycle and it doesn't actually progress anymore. So let's see over here, like if it did actually manage to get some progress done. So as we can see that it updated some file, and then it's looking at some more things. So I need to check the resume PDF to understand how it's integrated. It does do a good job of making sure that this, whatever update is made, it's also reflected in all of the other files as well. So that's the one good thing. But if you have something kind of small, right, something that you don't really need an extended model or extended thinking or something model for, what you could do is either reduce the amount of tokens like this for the thinking model, or what you might do is just completely change to the Claude 3.5 Sonnet. The 3.5 Sonnet by itself is an excellent model. It works flawlessly. I've only had a couple of instances where I've had to switch to the Claude 3.7 model. I think 3.5 by itself is really, really good. Now, there have been times when I've switched over to 3.7 and still hasn't been able to solve the problem. So for instances like those, what I would usually do is copy and paste the entire code, and then I use it I put it into something like ChatGPT on o3 mini high. So an example of that is here I was getting like a couple of issues with some code, and I tried a bunch of different interactions with Claude and still wasn't able to solve the problem for me. However, when I uploaded the entire code just for that one file, and I just said something like, fix and give me the full code, please, to copy paste easily. It thought for 7 seconds, and then it gave me the entire code that it fixed, and it was able to work fine. So that's actually the kind of things that you would want to pay close attention to. And there we go. So it is completely done now. It said that it worked on all of these updates. And if you take a look at the modern theme, obviously this is currently on the deployment site, so I need to open it up on my local host. So let's go over here to career dashboard, resume builder, and it's not exactly what I wanted. It created another separate theme for enhanced modern. But if you take a look, sure, it looks a little bit better than the modern theme. I might just even keep this. I think that makes sense. Maybe I might just create more rows or something over here. But we can see like this is exactly how it built it. Now, the good thing here is that it is all in a separate branch, right? So I don't really need to, this is all in main, but that's only because I was fixing some problems. But it is in a separate branch called resume improvement. It's not in the main branch. So it doesn't matter like all of this code that is written. If I didn't like it, I can always just highlight everything and then just simply say discard changes. And that's fine. It's not really even going to affect anything for me. If I did like it, well, I could commit all of these things into the branch and then just create a pull request for myself, and I can approve my own pull request and merge it into my main branch. So how do I actually set this up when I have multiple things, right? Suppose I want to have one agent to do like one part of it. So for example, in my career dashboard, this is what I've currently been building out. Maybe I want to have one agent to work on expert interviews, one agent to work on resume review, one to work on career path advisor or something, right? All I would do is on VS Code, I can go in here, create or select duplicate workspace. And that's going to create a separate workspace, which again, I just want to make sure that it's in a different branch called resume improvements. And then again, I'll create one more branch or one more duplicate workspace. So this is another one. And for each one of these, I just want to give them a task. Now, obviously, the task is not necessarily going to be for the same thing. Otherwise, they'll start clashing with each other and starts getting a little bit of a mess. What you would want to do is specifically have one window just for one task. So for example, this window might just be for something like create a new version of the resume. So like just like how we have in the resume builder, we have a minimalist version. Maybe I want to have like one or two different other versions as well. Maybe I might have another agent that's doing something else. Maybe it's building out another part of my website, like a career dashboard or something. But that's the goal, right? Like that's how you can really speed up this entire process. And once you're happy with the code, you can just simply commit it to the branch. And if everything works fine, then you can merge it into your main repository. So that's really how I've been using Cline for coding. Like I said, I have no prior experience. I've never used any of these things before in my life. And just to be able to create a prototype like this from scratch without knowing, anything related to front end development, I think that's pretty crazy, like how far we've come. So if you can take some time, go through the site, see if it's actually useful for you. And if you could leave some feedback, that I would really appreciate it. If you find it useful or insightful or something, then, or if you have some requests for newer features or something like that, I would really appreciate all of your feedback. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.